and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is the first time that you are joining me. Recently, a subscriber to my channel reached out to me and offered to send me a copy of the 4th edition of the Ellis Deck. I am not going to name that person because I haven't asked their permission to do so, but they did send me this beautiful deck in a box with some tea and a lovely scarf. And I thought I would take some time to just do a walkthrough of the deck because it's not one that I've seen or knew much about before I received it. So I thought it might be good to just share it with anybody who hasn't seen it and is also interested. This is the 4th edition. So the deck is by Taylor Ellis. This is the 4th edition. On their website, they were selling the 5th edition earlier this year, which is now sold out. But there is a announcement on there from the 9th of November that they will be doing a second print run of the 5th edition. So this deck will be available to buy again shortly. I will try and remember to link the website address in the description box below. You can see it here anyway, just in case anybody wants to check that out and keep an eye out so they can get a copy of this deck if they don't already have it. It comes in this beautiful 2-part box. I love these 2-part boxes. I would really like all of my tarot decks in future to come in these boxes so that they're easier to store and easier to open, and they last longer than tuck boxes. And I think the Spirit Song Tarot has proven that you can do, and also that This Might Hurt Tarot as well, has proven that you can do a smaller box like this and still have a really good guidebook with it. So that's just my throwing that out there to nobody. I don't know who I'm throwing that out there to. Just the world in general. That is my wish. The universe. I'm telling the universe. There we go. Anyway, it doesn't come with a guidebook, this one. It does come with this little fold out, which gives you the major arcana. The first 11 are the physical world, and the next are 11 are the metaphysical world. I had to work out 22 in my head then. That was what that weird pause was. And then it just gives you some keywords for each of the cards. And then on the back, you get the suits across the top, the numbers down the side, and then for each one, you just get like a keyword or a sentence. So the 4 of rods is creating home, the 10 of swords, conquering the ego. So it's just a little keyword. And it does also come with a digital guidebook that you can download and print out. I do have a copy of that. That was sent to me in a lovely kind of homemade folder thing, but I haven't got that with me for the video. So these are the backs. I'm going to zoom in because I think it would be good for you to actually see the detail on the cards. These are the backs, which are reversible. This deck has been trimmed. The person who sent it to me has trimmed it. So normally it does come with a border and they would be a bit bigger than these ones are. The cardstock, for people who are interested in that kind of thing, is really good. Not too thin, not too thick, not too slippy. It's just really nice cardstock. Right, let's get into the cards. This is what we're really here for, right? You don't care about all the other bump. I love this deck. So if you have watched any of my catch-up videos before, you are possibly aware that I am a huge fan of fantasy novels. And I do read a lot of fantasy. At the moment I'm going through a Stephen King thing, but generally I read a lot of fantasy. Particularly, I don't like so much fantasy that's set in our world where fantastical things happen. I much prefer fantasy that's set in its own world where the author does some serious world building. And this deck is just the ultimate fantasy deck for me. It just hits all of my fantasy buttons, both in the major arcana and in the minor arcana. And I could see how it would be so easy to use this deck to create a world and a story of your own. I love the hermits on the turtle, look. So cute. Oh, sorry. Making a bit of a mess of this. That star's really different, right? I still haven't made up my mind how I actually feel about that card yet. I think I like it. I mean, I like it, but whether I like it as a star tarot card, I'm not so sure. I really like the Major Arcana. It does have that real fantasy feel about it. But what I really love about this deck is the Minor Arcana, and that's really unusual for me to prefer the Minor Arcana. Not prefer it, but just have such strong feelings about the Minor Arcana. So the Minor Arcana, to me, looks like it's been designed in such a way that each suit is like within the fantasy world that this deck is creating is a different society of people within that world, and follows that theme of that society of people, which I really, really love. So you've got the Ace of Rods, and these are like these green, like maybe not woodland so much, but kind of like outdoors, lives amongst the kind of trees and nature. They've got a lot of these foxes. A lot of these foxes have more than one tail, which kitsunes, love them. So it's not, they're not like a farming group, you know, it's not like corn and farmyards and stuff like that, and agriculture. It's more like living in the leaves, living in the grass, living amongst the trees kind of people. And they're obviously teeny tiny because they can sit on the back of foxes and ride around on them. Look how many tails this kitsune has. That's a smart, wise one, that one is. Smart, wise. No, don't ask. And then each of the courts is like the royal family of that particular society. I mean, this is just how my head is reading these cards. So you have the page, and then the knight I see as representing the whole of the military for that particular society, and then you have the queen and the king. So then we have the pentacles. Now these are the ones that live in that kind of more like corn-based society. You know, they're more like farmers, the farming society, the agricultural society. And they're all white. So some of them, I mean, I don't know if you can see underneath the white face. So this is somebody wearing a mask. You can see where it's tied on. So they are all very white. White skin, white hands. You know, actual white as well. And grey. White and grey. There you go. One of the things I really want to do with this deck, is sit down and actually use it as a springboard for world building, to build, you know, work through these and kind of build up these societies that I'm seeing within each of these suits. I think this would be great for storytelling. So then we have the swords, and they're more like a military type society, and they have a lot of spiders and crows in their imagery. And they might be ravens. I don't know why I went with crows. They might be ravens. They're black birds of some kind. And everything's kind of very straight and jagged, and they have this really dark grey skin, or they have the heads of birds. There doesn't seem to be any greenery or any real like wildlife or anything. I love this Eight of Swords. I mean, I actually love this Eight of Swords. I've seen this card before without ever knowing that this deck existed. I don't know where I've seen it, but I know I've seen this card before and I love it. So these are, to me, these are like the military society, where everything's about war and logic and, you know, no room for emotions kind of thing. And this is possibly one of my favourite Queen of Swords that I've ever seen. I love this one. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I mean, she even has a spider, and I'm a bit of a freak about spiders, but I just feel so drawn to this Queen of Swords. And then finally we have the cups, and they are like a mermaidy, watery society. So there you go. I'm really, really loving this deck. I just adore the fantasy artwork. It's absolutely something that plays into my aesthetic and my passion in terms of literature and films and, you know, that kind of stuff. I'm a big fan of the fantasy genre as a whole. So really adore this deck, really excited to work with it, and maybe try and work with it in a way that's unique to how I work with any of my other decks. But I would love to hear, if you have this deck, have you found any kind of unique ways of working with the storytelling fantasy element within the deck itself? Or is it just, you know, a deck that you would use for readings the same as any other deck? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you all shortly for the next one. Take care and lots of love. Bye bye.